Hey, welcome to the lady.
All right, thank you guys, for everybody for coming out tonight. And we'll go ahead and get this meeting on the order. It's at 6 o'clock. And if everybody out in the audience and board members will not please silent or mobile devices. And then I can ask Eddie to lead our
I faithfully allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Your Father, and thank you so very much for your very many blessings, Lord, for all you've done for us. Lord, I pray that tonight as we conduct the people's business, Lord, that we will be mindful of doing the right thing, Lord, of doing your will and your way. Lord, I pray that you just anoint the ears and the hearts and the mouths of us as we do business. Lord, I praise you. I thank you for that. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen.
everybody on the board, please make themselves aware of their ethics, awareness, conflict of interest, and knowledge. If you in mind, if you have any of those, please make that known at this time. Hearing none, we'll move on to item 6. Does anybody have any intentions or intended to do it?
Madam Vice Chairman, I move that we add to the agenda underneath item for discussion, item 11E, geotech resolution for Mitchell County Recreation Center.
Thank you, Damon. Need a second on that? Thank you, Clayton. All in favor? Any opposed? Yes, that wasn't in favor, right?
Yes,
I spoke to Addison Mitchell.
no, no problem.
Yeah, sorry about that. All right, we can move forward and we will need a motion to adopt the agenda tonight.
So,
Thank you, Clayton. Need a second? Thank you. All in favor? All right. So moving right along into our public comment period, we have 4 public comment cards tonight, and we're going to start off with Mr. Greg Jenkins. And then Taylor, whenever Mr. Jenkins is ready to speak, it will set a timer for 3 minutes, please.
ready?
Ready? You are.
Okay, that's good. First of all, thanks for allowing me the opportunity to speak with y'all. I want to thank you for your service to the community, each and every one. I have a service background. The reason I'm in Mitchell County is because I was made aware of the fact that there's homeless veterans here. And I'm not going to rest until I know that those veterans are taken care of. And any veteran that ever becomes homeless in Mitchell County is taken care of, whether they're transient, whether they were born and raised here, or they moved here. I want to take care of. We need to fill a gap. It's called emergency shelter. And it's from the time that we identify a veteran until we can verify that veteran's status, and we can get them into what we call transitional housing. So we need an emergency shelter in Mitchell County. How we can come up with it, we can work on the plan. In the meantime, I was told that y'all are going to spend $4 million on a new emergency facility of some sort. I've asked the county manager if there's a possibility we could put a hygiene facility in that new building, which would allow a male or female veteran the opportunity to walk in there, wash themselves up, shave, brush their teeth, put some deodorant on, and look themselves in the mirror before they're taken to the VA, before they're taken for a job interview, before they're taken to see a doctor, before they're taken to see the county manager. They have some foundation of human dignity, hygiene. That's where it all begins. So if I give a veteran a care pack, it doesn't do him any good if he doesn't have a place to shower and shave. He may end up in a river somewhere. Walgreens and CVS or whatever pharmacy's bathroom is for customers only. We all know that. So let's just give them a place where I don't care if it's here or the new facility, whatever we can come up with. Let's come up with something where a veteran, male or female, can walk in and get themselves together. And from that point, we can launch them in the right direction, whether it's shelter, mental health services, whatever it is that they need. Okay? And that's all I'm asking for. I don't ask for anything more. If we could do that, I'd be forever grateful to you people. And I know that the veterans of this community and the civilians that I've talked to would be forever grateful.
All righty, and I believe that Guy and Andrea wanted to defer their time, is that correct?
That's correct.
To give you another 3 minutes and then another 3 minutes to speak if you're good with that.
I'm sorry, I can't get it all out.
That's okay. All right, so let's set another 3 minutes, please.
I understand the processes and procedures that we have to go through to make things work for y'all. And this is one of them. I'm limited to 3 minutes when I'm talking about, to me, the most important matter in Michigan. Because without our veterans, we wouldn't have Michigan. We wouldn't have the state of North Carolina. We wouldn't have the United States of America. We'd all be communists. I've spoken with your religious community. I've been to the churches before I ever came to y'all. I've spoken with people in your diners and different places around town, gas stations. And I asked them, what's going on? And they tell me. They pray with me that God will give you the strength to speak for them. Fortunately, he does. I want you to know that the county, the constituents that vote for you people, the taxpayers that pay your salary, they want this to happen, the majority of them. There's very few that would stand against us, and I think we know who they are. When I'm not doing this, I'm supporting the blue. Not everybody I work with does. I'm fourth generation law enforcement. I love my brothers. I love my brothers in arms and I love my brothers in blue. So that's where I'm going next in Mitchell County, is to help law enforcement here. Former, present, everybody that serves this community needs to be taken care of. Everyone. And then we can take care of everybody else, the crackheads, the criminals. We can reintroduce them. We can rehabilitate them. We can do everything we want to do. We invite them to church on Sunday. But let's have a moment and work together and try to take care of our veterans first. And everything else, I believe, will fall in place. It'll just fall in line. Is there any questions that you guys have for me or you ladies?
I would be curious to know which churches you spoke to, because I know there's a couple that I think do have a few options for homeless people, like Matt Hallfield's Methodist Church. So I know, like you're saying, there is a need for like shelter and stuff like it's called. So I didn't know if they did open their doors, and so there are some options out there. So that was maybe you had spoke to.
There's two things people ask me. What's the names of the veterans that are homeless in Mitchell County? I don't ever give a veteran's name. God is my witness on my life. You have homeless veterans in Mitchell County. God is my witness on my life. I've been to Baptist churches right here in Mitchell County. I spoke to your pastors, and I spoke to your constituents, and I've spoken to organizations right here in Mitchell County that have made me aware of the fact that they're trying everything they can to take care of these veterans. I can tell you it's a father and a daughter, 2 generations that served this country that became homeless. But I'll never give their name. Unless they said, hey, Greg, go ahead and give my name. Then I would be happy to do so. But if I came up here throwing names around, the confidence of those people to speak with me and to trust in me, their deepest, darkest moments in life would be broken. So please understand that. And if you don't trust me, then get with me after this meeting. And on a one-on-one basis, I'll tell you who to contact to find out what their names are. And if they want, those authorities want to tell you their names, then that's on them, not on me. But I have to maintain that level of trust, if at all possible. Very good questions. Very good questions. Any other questions?
Well, I will say too, I'm a restaurant manager, so if you do know about homeless vets, send them my way. And I'll
What's the name of it, ma'am?
Cafe.
Okay,
So.
you are what I'm looking for, and you are what I find when I go to different counties, ma'am. The first thing I find are restaurant owners that come to me and say, if there's a homeless veteran, you bring them to my restaurant and you feed them. And I show up weeks later or a month later, and I sit down with the homeless veteran and they're in shock. And they're like, yeah, Greg, you're really doing God's work. And I said, no, I'm just doing the right thing. Restaurant owners are the #1 business owners in the community that say, if you have a veteran in need, bring them to our restaurant and we will feed them. Thank you, ma'am.
Well, I know that Kathy out at the Senior Citizen Center, we always offer a voucher for Veterans Day.
Wow.
So she makes sure they get veterans on Meals on Wheels or whatever.
Your name is Miss Masters.
That's correct.
I thank you, ma'am. I thank you. When I came here tonight, I was going to bring that up, and I didn't think of it. The first one I found in Avery County was a fellow law enforcement officer that served, and he now owns a restaurant up there. He's not a veteran, but former law enforcement. And he said, Greg, what you're doing, we see what you're doing. And I own 2 restaurants here, very fine restaurants, and you bring any veteran that you find hungry in my restaurant. And he's kept his promise on more than one occasion. So, thank you so much. We're starting. We have begun. But the last thing I'm going to say, my time's up. We have an emergency response team in our law enforcement agencies. We have an emergency response team in our FEMA agencies. We have an emergency response team in every agency across the country. But we don't have an emergency response team for our American warriors that fall on deep, dark moments in life. We are the emergency response team. Your sheriff here will have our coffee. And if there is a veteran in need that can call us, instead of taking them to jail, we'll take them home and we'll take care of them. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
I have a question.
Yes,
sir. Thank you for your time. On the metric side of it or the number side of it.
Yes, sir.
How many homeless veterans do we have in Mitchell County?
I would hope that he would answer your question, sir. And let me explain to you. Let me explain. You have more than you'll ever know. And the reason I say that is, and that gentleman is the Veteran Services Officer right there, will agree. Pride. Our brothers that come home from war are too proud in many situations to ask for the help that they have earned. And so for every one that you've come to realize, there's twice as many that will never say a word. They'd leave town. They would leave town before they let it be known to disgrace their family or their friends or their issue. Okay?
Well, the reason
If I'm sorry, and you'll go ahead. If I know of two, that means there's at least four. Right now.
the reason I asked the question, sir, you brought this to our attention. You mentioned a facility,
Yes.
an emergency shelter to a transition housing. Without metrics, without numbers,
Yes.
knowing how many people could possibly use that,
Yes.
you don't know what size facility you're talking about.
How do you justify? And we're,
Exactly. How do you know to ask for, if you're applying for a grant?
Yes.
Federal help,
Yes.
you gotta have all of that documented
yes.
on paper before you can even fill out that grant and send it in. So, you know, without us knowing exact numbers,
I've got the answer when you're done. Let me know.
you know, we're not gonna be able to, do anything.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not being negative here, but we need the metrics, we need the numbers.
When we held the #1 war prisoner in the world, that Russian fellow that we just sent back to Russia, if you would have told me that we would trade one person for that man, I'd have called you a liar. So if we have one homeless veteran, we have too many. And if we need a facility for one and you don't want to pay for it, I'm going to pay for it. Okay? And if the federal government will not give you a grant or a 501c3 organization in Mitchell County to have a hygiene facility, brother, I promise you, we'll have every politician in this region, everyone in this state, and everyone in this country held accountable, because Congress has already allocated the funding for you to have said facility. So I told you about two. I know that that means there's four. This gentleman over here has told me about 8 that he's worked with in 8 years. So that's more. I've talked to other agencies that also work with them as well, and that's even more, 1 here and 1 there. Now we're up to 12, 15. Whatever the numbers are, sir, I don't get paid to do head counts, but there are people on the county staff, like your county manager, that can do that kind of research for you, like your veteran services officer. I'm putting all my money out where I can make a difference, and counting heads isn't making a difference to me. Okay, and I want to give you those numbers because what you're saying is right. They want me to report those numbers. I'm in on those meetings every month. Every month, they send me an email, say, hey, Greg, meeting's coming up, man. We need you on that. We need you on that call. We want to know how many veterans you, brother, if I served one, if I kept one from suicide, how much is that? Couple million.
Could you really put a dollar amount on that?
Thank you. It's priceless. So the debt of gratitude that we owe our American warriors is immeasurable. Let's not put a number on it. Let's just do the right thing and make it available to those brothers that sacrificed their blood, sweat, and tears, and those sisters, even if it's one, and even if it's a transit, even if they have no place to be, no place to go, they're just wandering through Mitchell County. Those veterans have sacrificed to the degree necessary that they should be able to go in and go to the bathroom under the supervision of your law enforcement to know that they're not doing anything wrong in that location. They're just going in and using the bathroom, and they can put on that toothpaste on that toothbrush and not be in a creek in a holler brushing their teeth in freezing cold water. They're in a bathroom where they have privacy and security and dignity. And then we can help them. But you'll be amazed, as soon as I put up a billboard in this county that says, we love our Mitchell County, loves our veterans, please call this number if you need help. We'll see how many there are, won't we? If we put that billboard up at every entranceway into this county, every entranceway into this state, everywhere where it says, come on Sunday to celebrate, what is it called? Recovery. If we say, come on Sunday to celebrate freedom of religion, which our veterans provide for us, you'll see how many veterans show up and ask for help. They're just ashamed. Their pride stands in their way. Let's help. Good questions. Thank you.
You,
Thank you, Greg. And, Rita. Your next public comment is from Mr. Richard. We'll make your way.
Okay.
Okay, I talk slow, so I hope I can get it in 3 minutes. First of all, I'd like to commend the Board of Commissioners for doing the Pledge of Allegiance and having a prayer before you start. I think it's a wonderful thing to do for the citizens, send a message. What I want to talk about tonight is, my wife and I have been working with a well-known person, and I had emails back and forth from this person who said he wants to come to Mitchell County. He's got a band called the Lieutenant Dan and band. They're getting famous, you know. I've seen him on TV. And he talked to me in email and on text and said that he can come here. He normally charges $200,000 to bring his band somewhere in Book. But he said if we set it up as a charity event to honor the veterans of Mitchell County, that he could knock it down to $50,000. Now, the reason it's gotten to be urgent right now, he said we need to pay half of the $50,000 by the end of February in order to ensure that we can book it. And I'm hoping, I've already spoke to Alan Cook about this, and I'd be willing to share any more details with any of the commissioners. If you want to see the emails that got us to this point, then you can review that and be in a better position to either support it or not. I know $25,000 to come up with is not an easy thing, but if you can figure out a way to do it, I think it would help put Mitchell County on the map and make it a special place to people come and visit. It's, me and I think it's a very special place to live. We love, we've been here since 2007. And we love it, and we want to stay here forever. So, with that being said, do you have any questions or comments?
What was the name of the band again, sir?
Lieutenant Dan, that's who he played. Gary Sinise played Lieutenant Dan in the movie Forrest Gump. Yeah, with Tom Hanks. And he has a foundation called the Gary Sinise Foundation. That'll come out in the emails. And he wants to help veterans. And he said they help anybody in need. So it's more than just veterans that they try to help. So I wanted to work in, unison with the board of directors and look at the picture and see if there's anything anybody can think of as to how we can raise the money to bring him here, I think it would benefit all of us if we can do that.
Well, thank you, Mr. Benson, for bringing that to everybody's attention.
Okay. Like I said, if anybody wants to look at the email traffic, I'll share that with you. You give me your email addresses.
I have your card.
Okay.
Pass it on. Any more public comments? Hearing none, we're gonna move right along to item number 9, this will be the approval of the minutes. Does everybody have time to read those over? If so, all right. Close the motion, please.
Move that we adopt the minutes after January 3rd.
Okay. Make this second.
Second.
You do. All in favor? Opposed? Okay. All right, item 10A. Tractor lane. Put you guys time for about 7 minutes, maybe a minute or two more. Okay.
Good to see y'all again. Thank you. We have one new face. Please, I'm Drew. Let's go to the director of Tracker. This is Sierra Bryant. I'm our agricultural programs manager. Just wanted to give you all an update. Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Just want to give you all an update on where we're at. I think last time we talked, we were in the process of moving out of Burnsville, so we are in Spruce Pine quietly. Not making too much noise because we're hoping to open by April. And get running then. So just wanted to provide an update of where we're at. We're engaged in the capital campaign to raise enough money to purchase the building, which will allow us to put, up to $500,000 of infrastructure in that building permanently. That's why there's this little hesitation to get started, because we don't want to put that kind of investment into a building which we won't own. So people are coming out to donate for that. That's been really, really great to see. We anticipate and by April being able to purchase the building. So as far as just the landscape, I mean, everything, all commodities are kind of all over the place right now. It's been an interesting couple of years. But I'm sure you've seen it. I just wanted to share something. I was grocery shopping late night for around here in Buellerdine, the Dollar General. I saw eggs for $5. These aren't Libby Self's eggs. These are our eggs are $5. Tractor's eggs are $5. So from an economical perspective, the playing field is level now. We see a huge opportunity to grow and expand right now. Just noticing little things like that. Beef. Our local beef is cheaper than beef that we in the grocery store. That's actually our good quality. For the longest time, it was why everything's so expensive at Tractor. So we see a huge opportunity to grow and expand. And just one interesting tidbit from the USDA that came out maybe 6-8 months ago. 70% of food distribution in this country is owned by 2 companies. So ultimately, when you're shopping or eating at a restaurant anywhere, you're eating 2 different types of food. Probably even one. They're hanging out on the yacht, almost certain. Probably 2 yachts waiting on each other. So we have more than probably ever, at least in my lifetime, seeing the kind of deterioration of local agriculture and rural communities kind of deteriorate. I think we have an opportunity, which is what we're going to do. So I mean, what we've been doing is we to food pantries, groceries, restaurants, local food retailers, sort of universally. We do it. We meet them where they're at. And sometimes that means grant funding. Sometimes that means taking a cut on our end, or taking a hit on our end. With certain clinical referral patients, emergency food relief. For example, any veteran can walk in and receive fresh food at Tractor. We try to seek funding for that at no cost. Oftentimes we'll deliver it. So what we want is fair prices for farmers here, and the people of this community, regardless of the ability to afford it, to have access to that food. That's really, for you, sir. That's what we do. We get farmers paid. Very simply. So where we're looking to kind of move forward and plow ahead, we want to we really want to get into exploring like vertical and more modernized types of farming and make those opportunities available for farmers to explore. And you've seen a lot of that. Little League is coming in like into Burnsville, and ultimately, you know, that's not going to be a community owned organization. That's a European, I believe it's a European owned Massachusetts base. Like that's not. We're happy to be in Mitchell County because there's an opportunity for someone to build that from the ground up. Whether it's a cooperative, whether it's a single business, you know, this could be a locally owned business. So we want to explore those and give farmers opportunities with models, either at tractor or on farms to kind of, you know, test that economy and see if any revenue can be made there. Meanwhile, using our markets to serve this community, not export it to Atlanta or send it out to Charlotte or whoever has the, you know, the highest bidder. Because there's a value to our nutrition and to the soul of our food here that can't be matched from anywhere else. And right now, again, it's $5 for eggs, whether it's Dollar General for us. So the other aspect of this is, you know, we're always looking for new markets, and one right now, we're hoping to connect with schools in the Toad River region who have access. All three Mitchell area and UNC were approved for, it's called the Local Food for School Cooperative Agreement. It's $200 million released by the USDA for purchasing in the schools. So there is a pretty large allotment of funding for schools to buy food. And we are here to give our best effort to make sure that that the food in the Mitchell County School is from Mitchell County. So we would like your support in playing a role in that, however that's possible, you know, making connections with the schools, food and nutrition directors, principals, whoever, you know, has eyes on that budget. And we want to meet them where they're at. You know, they're some things we have might be more expensive and we might have to work through that. But, you know, if anything farmers are good at, it's fixing different stuff. So, you know, we'll find a way to make it happen. That's what we do. Oh, go ahead. Yeah, sure.
So would that be like on a school by school basis, or would that be like a whole school system?
I believe it would be the whole school system.
Okay.
When we looked into it last year, that's the way it seemed to play out, is that the school systems have the ability to decide what kind of funding they can allocate.
And you had mentioned allocation of food, excuse me, I'm sorry, Harley. You mentioned the allocation of money from federal government. Does that money come to the school system? That they can purchase food, or does that money come to y'all?
It goes to the school.
Yeah.
The school would very much be a customer. And that's the way we like it. We like to get that brutal feedback of, you know, we got some, because that's what it's going to take to bring farmers up to where they need to be to compete. Is you got bad products and the school rejecting it. That's where we come in and have a conversation. And we provide them with the resources they need, you know, produce a better product from the next go round.
And like, same thing with like expectations on their end, like whether that's GAP certification or organic certification. Just seeing where they're at with what their expectations are, to where we can have our farmers meet them.
Yeah, having a probably the context to the school system, she's our food and nutrition. I have a question for you guys. Is that federal funding? Is it line item just for local, like local foods, or would you guys be competing with like Cisco?
We would be competing with Cisco. USDA is Renee raising here, right? a little out of touch. They have more money than they know what to do with, and they don't know the real scope of agriculture right now, particularly in small communities. And in this situation, yeah, this is sort of, we have an opportunity to get on it, but whoever's procuring food could very easily check a box on Cisco's website. But we have a website too. And that's where we want to get into motion and prove our worth, because we have higher quality product than most of North Carolina, honestly. Maybe not the volumes yet, but you know, we're getting there. We've tripled our buying, you know, 4 years in a row now.
And part of that is having like the stable markets to begin with. Once we have those in place, we can have the farmers scale up. The ones that are able to.
Again, economy of scale, right? Like if a farmer's making, you know, $5,000 gross, because that's all the opportunity out there, while we should keep farming. But if you could make 30, work a part-time job, do that for 10 years, and then before you know it, you got a family farm again. If the market continues to grow. So that's the model, it takes a while to get us there, because we're working with pieces of it. Both the growing and the distribution side. That's where we're at. So we're excited to get going, really grateful to be here, and thanks for all your support so far.
One more question, or maybe two questions. At your new location, and you need new locations hard to hide. Okay. After half I had it today.
So you might clean it up.
No, you got your big box truck out there with your name on the side. And your van. At your new location, is that gonna be a warehouse distribution center for you guys? Or that be a retail operation?
We're
Or both?
exploring a retail operation. The economics of a retail operation are pretty tough. You need a lot of volume, and you pretty much need a stronghold on the market. Our model where we've been most successful is online ordering and pre-packaging food shares. Much like, I don't know if you've heard of what's one of those, Hello Fresh or something like that, with a pack of bag and ship it to you. Those companies still aren't making money as far as I know, but that's where we're able to do it and still able to turn a profit on it.
And the reason that is because when we order from the farmers, that product is already sold before it ever comes to sold. So we're not sitting on product for more than 24 hours, 48 hours. Whereas like grocery stores,
So you already have those sales pre-booked.
right,
Mhm.
before the
Right,
product.
too. So if you were a new retailer or an existing retailer, and that retailer wanted to carry your product, whether it be egg, chicken, pork, beef, vegetables, how does that individual go about touching base with you?
So they contact me, that's my job.
Yeah, and we have an online ordering system.
Yeah, we have online ordering systems, and then depending on like where their needs at and where we're scalable, we can get them like a pretty like standard ordering system. Depending on like where their volumes are and where we can meet, so we would just get with them and discuss that. But just have one reach out to me. That's on our card.
I don't think I have yours. I've got yours
Mhm. I might have one.
Oh, yeah.
from the last presentation.
And we accept half EBT, and we do clinical referrals. So if you're a retailer and you also want to get involved in, serving the community in a greater way, helping people in need and Medicare and things like that, we can set up pickup sites for those folks at your location. Get more people in the store and get people in the store that normally wouldn't be there. Get to form a relationship. And we have a lot of big local businesses that work with us, like Fox and Big and Mr. Thomas.
Just local.
Just local. So. Thanks for listening. Yeah, if you got any questions, just reach out.
It's almost plant time, not too much longer. What products do you guys always furnish short on?
Everything. Like, I'm not joking either, really everything, but more of like your grass foods, like broccoli, cauliflower, we always put those. But I mean, over the past 3 years, the issue hasn't been not having. So if you're no farmers, if you are a farmer, definitely reach out to me.
But we understand the pressures too, like growing, like the fungal and the animal pressure is greater than it's ever been. And unfortunately, it's probably only going to get worse. So that's another benefit of sort of making, while we're starting to move into a more controlled environment growing. And what we don't have a lack of here is water, and that's usually the barrier there. So if we can get experienced farmers and farm families to where they can just start supplementing their businesses with test facilities and then grow into those and explore them, they're going to be a huge boom for the economy and food and ag here, and improvement in the quality of the product you're seeing that come out and health and nutrition. Of course, a lot of our funders and supporters are have health initiatives, and that's where they're coming from. They want to see more access. Because, yeah, I'm shopping at Dollar General. I'm the director of a food hub. We're gonna do better.
So, I mean, we do, like, if you're interested in purchasing local food, definitely reach out to us. Because we're starting to get a lot of those questions of like, how do you join Tractor, how do you be part of Tractor? It's all on our website. You can sign up on our CSA there. And if you want to make your businesses or anyone that you know pickup locations, just let us know. Usually we try to have about 10 people per pickup location. So if you want to rally some people to join our CSA, because that directly supports farmers.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Item 10 is gonna be Mr. Country.
Good all, I have met several of you. I'm Phil True, Planning Director of High Country Council of Governments, the Southern County Planning Organization. Steve Pittman is y'all's delegate on the board. We do a lot of work with local governments and long range planning and all the grant applications. Reason I'm here tonight, back in 2015, the EDC director at the time contacted the North Carolina Department of Commerce to develop a economic development plan for the county. And then we got called in, I co-authored that with, from the Commerce staff. So when that first started, I met with Matt now, we talked about that 2015 plan and the, if there was a need to revisit that and plan to redo it, revise it. Here's a copy of that summary document from that time. So I met with them on the map, we talked about redoing that. Since they were in their position when we did that in 2015, kind of just described them the process, and I'll do that here very briefly. County commissioners at the time appointed a steering committee, local stakeholders to work with us. Think about a year to develop a plan. We divided it into categories of economic development such as workforce, agriculture, tourism, small business, industry. It's all in that summary document. We came up with a series of recommendations, had public input, so forth, typical planning process. We came up with, I think it was 44 total recommendations in those 8 categories. And a lot of which has been either accomplished, is no longer relevant, or there's new forces in the economy that kind of warrant revisiting the plan. Y'all have done an outdoor recreation economy plan since 2015. COVID happened since 2015. Y'all entered the county commissions at the time, entered in agreement with the Yancey County commissions for looking at joint industrial park. You know, the whole onset of Airbnb and expansion of that industry. A lot of things have changed in the economy, and so that's what I talked down Matt about is redoing the plan. What I want to talk to you all tonight about is just kind of present the idea, not asking for any action, to see what your thoughts are or questions you may have about redoing this plan. I've talked with folks at the Department of Commerce. They are willing to partner with us again in doing that. And I'm meeting with the EDC board on the 27th of this month. Had the same discussion, see if they want to pursue doing this plan, how they want to do it. The EDC board is a steering committee, appointed like we've been in 2015. How big you want it to be, you know, that's just a summary document, full plan, last time 50 pages. It's not necessarily need to be that big. Let's talk about that whole process. So, this main point tonight is, we're willing to help with our plan. Talk with the EDC board later this month, and talk more details about budget for the plan, timeline, schedule, who's going to be involved, and then soon
Matt or someone from the seaboard will report back and kind of get y'all's approval moving forward. But again, tonight, I just wanna, we're late tonight, just like to see what y'all's thoughts are on pursuing that. And how we can help. Alan and Matt, anything I missed?
We had met and discussed, we discussed this revising this individual work plan. I think to whatever point it needs to be done, you know, if you're rebranding it or looking at what our new priorities are.
And a lot of times in the meeting on the board, some of the board members mentioned this should have been done, should be done more frequently than what we're coming up on 10 years. So they're usually done 2, 5 years, 2 years.
I'll speak to it. I guess I see the need, to look at this plan and revise it and kind of have an idea of where we're going to go in the future. But at the same time, I wonder if we'd be better served to look at some of the recommendations in the old plan. Like looking at number 9 underneath recommendations, talks about expanding public water and sewer. And from my experience on this board, and looking for sites to develop, that's like banging your head against the wall, trying to find a suitable site that has both sewer and water. So I guess I have those two conflicting feelings about the plan. I think there's some things that are still very much valid in this 2015 plan that I'd like to see us pursue. At the same time, having a central plan that says everybody will come through and up to date central plan.
What I've done in some of our other counties that have economic development plans is meet with them every year and kind of look at what needs to be knocked off the list and what's priorities. More than happy to help y'all facilitate that discussion, either with this board or the DDC board or some combination. Then maybe we should look at this and see what's still valid, see what is missing, and then see if y'all actually see a need to revamp or revise the entire document.
I like that idea. I think that's a good idea. I always found the High Country Council to be a very valuable partner for the county. I would like to see us look at this and see what we've accomplished and what we need to maybe delve deeper into.
So again, I'm happy to.
Where's that timer?
Well, I know, that was good. Well, timing is great.
Feel kind
Yeah, we've been timing you, brother. There you go.
of expands
The
the
whole
whole.
over under on the hood. 6:30 over. You lost the bet.
Looking at the recommendations, expanding sewer and water, looks like that would kind of ease the burden of accomplishing some of these other ones, like having some suitable sites for economic development, or for industry development. That kind of, I think there's some things in this old plan that we need to do to lay the groundwork, I guess, for some of the things we might find in a revised plan or an updated plan.
Yeah, like I said, I'm glad to help either revisit this and make some tweaks to it, do a full-scale revision. Todd, we've always kind of looked at helping our local governments with the right size. What- Having one recipe for an economic development plan would be really good.
Could we set up one of our second meeting of the months to just specifically kind of sit down with High Country Council to fill and board in the workroom and kind of go through this plan? Would that be a possibility for one of our upcoming? Now, we got a lot on our plate with all these bills.
Yeah, let's maybe talk about that, Bill, and I'll get back with you when we can I know February is, we got a lot going on in February with some stuff, but we'll set up some time with you.
Maybe good too, to figure out what role the EDC board's in playing that. So when I meet with them on the 27th, we've got some clear direction.
I kind of personally like them being the driver, but, I want to be in the car with them.
Oh,
Even if it's in the cargo area, I'm sure.
So yeah, y'all figure out who's to be in the car, then they work it out and keep the mechanics down how we're gonna work it.
And I think after that EDC meeting on the 27th, Matt can give us more of an update on what his board. It's thinking, bring that information back to us as county commissioners. And I've cheated a little bit. I've moved on down to Matt's presentation, so I can still study here. But he's pointed out, a couple of things. And we had sort of talked about this a little bit, was to expand water and sewer to the Yancey County side of Mitchell County. We've got a lot of area in that district, a lot of land in that district. I don't know if it's affordable land or it's not affordable land. But water and sewer ends, it's, I think, BRP. So be a huge thought process. Town of Spruce Pine will be majorly involved. Could their waste treatment plant handle? Would it have to be expanded? I think, with their latest update, there is room for expansion. We're fortunate they have good water and a good source of water. And then also, I know in the past, with Bakersfield's water situation, we have water and sewer to the ledger at the high school. So we work with not only the town of Spruce Pine, but the town of Bakersfield to extend that water line from Ledger all the way into Bakersfield, because, Chuck's had some water issues in Bakersfield that it has affected local business, having to shut down and things like that. So I think there's a lot of positives here, Brandon, to doing that. I think we definitely need to work with these guys and let them guide and assist, and let Matt's board, EDC board, give us direction. And then we can add our piece to the puzzle, or we can mark it off a checklist.
And looking through this, man, I think we've accomplished, a lot of the things in here. Some of the things, like increasing the occupancy tax rates coming out of our latest control. But, I think we can go through this plan and find some of the things that are the catalysts for all the other growth, all the other areas of development that kind of need to happen before we can move forward. I think sewer and water is at the top of the list personally. Bill, does that seem to be, I've heard that as far as looking for funding from state and federal government, that sewer and water is kind of low hanging fruit. Is that your experience, or am I wrong there?
To just rebuild an aging wastewater treatment plant or fix a bunch of aging water lines downtown, hard money to get. If the new industry locates on the new site and want to run water and sewer out to it, that's where the federal and state grant money is going.
So expansion is where
To serve an industry. If you've got jobs in hand, that's what triggers all the state and federal grants.
I think it'd be well worth our time to sit down with EDC and go.
I think when Richard Knapp was still the town manager for Spruce Pine, you and he had a very close connection, very good working relationship. And I think the majority of the upgrade to the water treatment plant and the wastewater treatment plant was non-local money.
Right.
You had very little local money, and most of it was paid for by grant.
Right. When I said there's a lot of money out there for projects to create where there's job creation, that's not to say there's not money for others. That other money's harder to get. rebuild downtown infrastructure and plans.
Would this also, could you get grant money and funding for, let's say, houses, whether it be public housing, whether it be upscale housing, townhouse, nice apartments, you know, because we all realize housing is a major problem, not only in this area, but in all surrounding counties.
No, there's not a lot of grant money to build new housing.
Okay.
We've worked for decades doing community development block grant applications and administration to, rehabilitate homes and do improvements on homes for low income people. For big scale developments, it's not a lot of money for that.
That would be up to the developer.
Right. And these, you know, these plans are interesting in that a lot of things can happen with no money. A lot of things take a lot of time, a lot of things take a long time. You know, develop a new water and sewer facility is an expensive venture. So it's good to look at these plans periodically with that eye towards what can we do based on our current budget? What should we be planning 10 years for? What can we do tomorrow? So, you know, there's 44 recommendations run the whole gamut as far as time commitment and financial commitment. It's good to look at that because you're going to be able to see what you can do and not, you know, pitch it out because you're not achieving this one high dollar, high price tag project.
No question. Bill?
So again, I'll meet with EDC board on 27th and to be continued, but I'm more than happy to help facilitate a discussion on what's in this plan and then decide to go forward. I can help there too.
We'll forward the other ones, you know.
Sounds good. Thank you. All right.
Good evening, very well again, I'm in front of the commissioners and, you know, represent the town board, the EDC board, as well as the Hackett County governments, you know. All these folks are here to help us, and, you know, they want to help guide us as we're applying for these grants, and the best ones that the grants that fit us, for our needs. So I just want to thank this board. I think you've proven your track record, through dedication, support our citizens. You're doing a law enforcement center, you're doing a recreation center. You're partnering with the new middle school, and any economic development expert will tell you that, you're doing exactly all the right things. I know a lot of times I get stumbled up, and I think economic development is all about the wealth and the jobs and the growth, but it's more than that. And I like to use this definition that I found in one of my classes down at the School of Government, and it's from American Economic Development Council, and they explained, or they defined it as economic development as raising the standards of living and improving the quality of life. It is growth and change that neither contributes to the rising inequalities nor diminishes the opportunity for our future generations. And that really sticks with me. That I think that covers a lot of things in our economy, such as every single one of us here, our veterans, our kids, you know, our elderly. None of us are left out when it comes to the economy. And that's kind of why I want to just, you know, talking about high level numbers, put us back into perspective of where we stand. You know, population is a vital sign of our future and of our economic growth and our growth in general. North Carolina as a state, you know, I guess you guys know this, exceptionally, we're doing well. I mean, population, people living here, we're gaining a lot of jobs. We are very competitive, you know, in country status, if you compare us to other states. It was recently published by North Carolina State demographer from July of last year to July of this year. We grew more than any other state. Texas and Florida do this yet too. So we've got great opportunities, folks, and Mitchell's right there in the middle of it to gain some of this. Our last census showed that we did unfortunately lose 679 citizens. You know, we've had pandemic, we've had overdose, we've had, you know, we've got an aging population. Our median age is 46 and a half. You know, that could be explaining why some of these, can we get some industry in here, but are they gonna, get 15, 18 years out of someone, they gotta think about that. State that is working, actually, you gotta have a good working force, the working age is 18 to 40.
I think 46.
Yeah. So I just like to go over that just to kind of put it in perspective. But don't think that Yancey and Avery are neighbors, they're dealing with the negative increase, the whole world. People aren't having kids as often as they used to, so that's where, maybe one kid per family, or sometimes people aren't having kids, so the natural increase that's where our decline is. Yancey got it because that road over at 19 got built over 10 years ago. Ours opened October 2020 in the middle of the pandemic. So I think we've got opportunity, people will come. We did gain 105 people net migration during that time period. Yancey grew over 1,200 some people. The net migration, and they're closer to that Asheville pool, but they've also got an easier commute now. So people are coming by land there, probably living there and commuting back over to those areas, which we could do that. If we build something maybe out there towards 19D, we could start being a place, a hub where we've got an industry, get some tax base, maybe people just coming in, come to work and commuting back out.
Is that, that's the first time I actually ever heard that number, the 100, you said 105?
105 we gained during that time.
In 2020, just in the year 2020?
2010 to 2020, so we didn't.
Okay, oh, so for a 10-year period.
10-year period, Yancey had gained 1,255.
Gotcha.
And I think it's got to be attributed to that road and, people wanting to find a cheaper place to live, which now, I don't know, we'll see what the new census shows us. Avery had gained 685. So there's, I think we've got some future folks, we haven't had that road open too long. But just breaking down our numbers, talking about the median age, our older population's gotten older, that's making about 25%. And the next one, which is a great opportunity, 24% is our 1900, that's 3,576 people are estimated. So we've got some great opportunities to turn this around, keep our people, the youngsters here, and hopefully staying in the PD college or going someplace and coming back, because we've learned from that future. And we need healthcare, we need business, logistics, transportation. That's where if we could get our kids trained in that and educated, they'll come back and work in our private industries, which mining and healthcare is our base here. That's our economic base, and private industry that employs our majority of our people and pays the best. So we want to make sure going on piggyback on Phil, that's why that business retention expansion plan, a lot of IEC board members, people in the community, we feel that's important. You always want to hold on to what you have and help those folks expand. BRP expanding or Buckstone or some of the mining folks. Everybody's holding their own right now, doing very well. If you BRC Industries out, Henry on site, he's doing well, 150 employees, still in production, but anyone can always leave. That's what you gotta remember. Even our hospital. So anything we can do to show, and you guys are proving that you're building up our quality of life here, you're doing everything that is what the experts say. And something's being proven. See, you're going back to a yearly thing that's more closer. Fiscal year 20 to 2021, we had 8,246,504 sales tax. That's our gross collections. That increased over about 900. Well, we're up to 9,138,000. No, it's about 800,000. So we're doing something right. So that's always a good positive number to come on. In my end of the year report, you'll see the arts are rocking out, mining, everybody's doing a good job. I think we're holding our own, but you always want to diversify. And maybe that's this outdoor recreation stuff we got. Maybe BRP could start building some different options for us and help expand that, bring something online. But just to let you know, I'm here representing the EDC board and I'm representing every single citizen in county. And my board members will ultimately be the ones deciding and voting. But just being here on the job a few months, my first main goal is that what I just mentioned, the DRA, business retention expansion. And you're looking at your top 10 employers. You're looking at how 7 minutes already up. How fast they're growing, what company is most likely to leave, and then what are their common challenges or facing. Tractor's probably going to have some common things that we don't know about. That's an issue. Maybe BRP's got some too, but maybe if we all collaborate, we can all figure out what's everyone's common. issue, and help with that. So that falls in updating that plan. Best thing I learned was strategic plans. It teaches you where you are now, where we're going, where we want to go, how do we get there, and are we there yet? And that's why we put it back to our citizens and to our business owners to help us with that. And the third one was building up our public land, owned land and buildings, kind of what Brandon is saying. EDC does have water sewer tap, they'll control it. But the best thing to teach you in class, no product is no project. And you guys are probably example with your rec center, had we not had control of that land, we would have roadblocks or we wouldn't have project. So you guys are doing a good job there. I think that's about all I've got. I do appreciate y'all for letting me speak, and I'd really like to know what the commissioners have for EDC. You know, what goals would you like to see? I think the water sewer came up tonight. There's some things I can take back to them, call me, email me. Just give me an update. Hopefully I'll have like some good numbers that we gained this many jobs this time next year. We're not doing the job the whole year. But
Matt, I know you've been super active. I mean, I've seen you, we're all on a lot of boards, and I think we've all seen you in a lot of different places. So we appreciate you jumping in and, you know, just really pushing forward to something that it's got us like to get in there and just get started, right?
yeah, there's been some grants applied for it, leveraging our country council. That's what we gotta do. Like what y'all are doing, you're building stuff like this that builds up for quality life and life for that feasibility study for that over mountain victory trail. Things that, you know, anything that's a little weird.
We're doing a goal session, I think in February, I believe, so, you know, we'll take that to consideration when we're sitting down with each other to, you know, really look at what is our goal for the EDC, you know, and how can we help, you know, help you get there, so we'll try to get you some information.
Well, I want to say thank you. I've been here 4 years, going on 5. My first presentation like this from an ADC director. The information that you provided here is very valuable. And, what I would say to you personally is don't get frustrated. Just keep on plugging. And, you know, here again, we've got a lot of positives going on in this country. And, you know, we're going to rely on you to help us with those, plus bring us more ideas or more opportunities. So I'm very pleased that you're here. I'm very pleased with the presentation. And like I said, this is the first time I've seen one in 4 years.
Did you ever hear anything else about what I reached out to you?
Pratt and Raytheon Technologies. Yeah, they want to hire 700 people. They were offering interviews for people that took that course. That was $600. Mr. Boyd's getting me some numbers to see if Nayland had any interested folks. The thought is, I reached out to Yancey in Burnsville. They hope to subsidiaries of that, you know, people who would make things for them, they would locate in their areas. But right now, if they're trying to get 700 employees, they're all focused on that right now. But we are local folks. If they would be on board with that, that'd be a great help. And that's no, you know, it's part of military contracts. They're a big thing. They'll stick around. Well-paying jobs.
Thank you, Matt.
Yeah. Thank you.
Next we got Mr. Palmer from the Big Brother Business. Well,
Thank you. Forgive me, I've driven to Murphy and back this morning. Today.
that's the day.
From Hillbrand. I appreciate the opportunity to be here in front of you folks. I know several of you. I'll take a second to introduce myself. I'm Dorian Palmer.
I have the immense privilege of serving as the Vice President of Philanthropy for Big Brothers Big Sisters of Western North Carolina, serving the 18 westernmost counties in this beautiful state. I want to introduce Melissa Blevins-Dale, our program coordinator for Adrian, Mitchell, and Yancey County. How many folks here have heard of it? That makes me happier than y'all know. I'm not Boys and Girls Club. That's the most important thing I can say tonight. What we do is one-to-one mentoring. Our mission, our vision, our values, you'll see on the third slide that I sent you. Our mission, our vision is to ignite the power and promise of all youth through one-to-one mentoring relationship. And our vision is simple, that all youth achieve their full potential, whatever that looks like. I'll go through this and then I'll talk more off script, but I do want to tell you about numbers. So what do? I mentioned before, we have two programs. We have a site-based program where you go into the school for 1 hour once a week. And we spend 30 minutes on social emotional supports and 30 minutes on educational support. Social emotional, we know kids coming out of COVID have higher risks of, particularly coming out of COVID anaphylaxis. We see kids who have higher ACE scores, which is adverse childhood experiences. We know that we saw drug usage rates go up. We know that, broadband, we see these issues. So connectivity was a problem during COVID, particularly again in Western North Carolina. So what we're focused on right now is that 30 minutes social emotional support. How do you do that? How can I support you? How can I remind you that you're loved and cared for and valuable in this world and this moment?
We offer that for adults.
Well,
We do that too.
I'll know that Brandon Pittman has free time, I'll tell you what. And the second part of that is our educational support. How do you do on your spelling? How can I support you in that reading or in that? How can I support you and remind you that, hey, you're valuable again? It all goes back to igniting that power and that promise we all have. It's just how we access it for the young folks that we do serve. They have our community-based uniform that you might have heard about. We've been in business since 1904. Where you go out in the community for a couple hours, a couple times a month, right? You go fishing or hiking or swimming in the summer. But you also can just go to the library and read a book, particularly as we talk about literacy and childhood literacy rates across Western North Carolina. And COVID didn't help those either. So as we talk about spending that intentional time with the young folks in our community. Those are our two programs. The youth we serve, between age 6 and 15, we follow them through high school graduation, whatever that looks like. You can see the numbers in front of you. One thing I do want to say is across Western North Carolina, 25% of the kids that we serve have a parent who has been or currently is incarcerated, and 86 qualify for free individual. So those things are important. Those numbers matter because we want to serve all kids, and the kids who meet a lot of this criteria are often the kids that we have. So it's important that you see these. Another startling number here is 14% of our kids are raised by their grandparents or great grandparents. So if we're talking about a 6-year-old with all the energy in the world, sometimes our 75, 80-year-old great grandparents don't have the capacity to take care of those kids. So I do want to just turn you to that. So who are our mentors and what do they do? Our mentors are adults who care. They submit an application on our website. They go through one crazy extensive background check, which is important. We're talking about matching adults with children and want to make sure everyone's safe. We go through 4 reference checks. They complete an interview with Melissa. Usually about an hour and a half to 2 hours. So it's a long process. And then after Melissa types up her report, it goes to a screening committee made up of our program leaders. And they say, will this person make an effective? And then it's accepted from there, and we do that one-to-one virtual. The program coordinator will contact the big ones, the little is available. We do typically have wait lists, but we don't just match bodies, right? That's important. We match life interests, we match life goals. And we match, we don't want to just have a random adult with a random kid, a super active and excited kid, and an adult who might not want that. Right? So we try to match based on goals and desires. And then so there's a match meeting after that. And in that match meeting, you go to the house, you typically have a little house, you spend that first time, then our program coordinator facilitates what's your first outing gonna be? What is that gonna look like? And how can we support it? And after that, for the first year, the program coordinator follows up every month on that, say, how is the match going? Does everyone feel supported and valued in this relationship? And is there any problems, any safety concerns? Because we want to know about that so we can get ahead of it. Because we don't want anyone to feel unsafe in that relationship. And so we'll talk to you about Mitchell County and Yancey County and Avery County, which is the area Melissa covers. We're currently still working to get into Avery County in a way that's meaningful. How we partner with the folks who are already doing amazing work. In that community, but in Mitchell County, we had 5 matches, sorry. And we came to Mitchell County, you guys remember, I talked to a lot of you in January of 2020, no, I'm sorry, it's April of 2021. We came here because Dogwood Health Trust extended a grant opportunity to us to expand our service area. So as I said before, we covered 18 westernmost counties, we used to serve 10. And then 2021 happened in Dogwood, which allowed us to serve this part, which has always been part of our map. So the resources didn't allow us the opportunity to come up here. And so we hosted a lot of get-togethers, a lot of engagement opportunities. And because of folks like Lisa Pittman, I had to, because of folks like Lisa, who believe in the mission and our vision, who's our co-chair here in this Amy region, believed in us. We've been able to host one fundraising event, and like I said, Melissa now has 8 matches here in this area. So what we do is like support the power promise of youth. That's our goal to engage. Right now, we're talking about, like some ACEs, we're talking about substance disorder and treatment.
So loud.
It is. Let's bring it out.
Racing.
Talk about substance use disorder, we know that it's higher among Southern Appalachian folks. We talk about, are we doing the best we can in the communities that we serve? And coming to our commissioners and our elected officials and saying, folks, we need y'all's help to be a partner in this. January is National Mentoring Month. Today, I spent this morning with the new congressman from North Carolina's 11th Congressional District in Swain and Graham and Cherokee County to inform him and him informing y'all of the importance of mentoring and the impact it has on our community. So with that, y'all have questions for me?
How many kids are being served right now by Big Brothers and Big Sisters in Mitchell?
We have 5 here in Mitchell County, that's 3 in Avery, or I'm sorry, 3 in Yancey. And across Western North Carolina, our number for last year, this is really exciting because it was down with the COVID. We served 573 children through one-to-one mentoring. Add to that, we have an AmeriCorps program that's housed under us. AmeriCorps is a federal state program. And so we have in some of the Western counties that I mentioned earlier, we have an adult in each school, and we're able to count that for the kids served. So in 2019, 2020, our number we served was 3,016 children pre-COVID. So I want to get back there, but first we got to bring up our one-to-one.
How many kids are on our waiting list in Michigan doing?
All of our ones.
I want to say right now we have 5,
On the waiting list?
and I'm trying, did you mention the high school?
I was just about there. And one thing we're working on, in addition to our site-based and our community, is we recognize that finding adult volunteers is hard. After COVID, like we're having a hard time, just like in churches, right? We know church attendance is down. We know community engagement, things are down. I'm a member of Rotary Club. I've been looking at the same 6 faces for 2 years. That was a joke. But we know civic engagement is down. And so one thing we've looked at, and there's always been an opportunity in our program, is to use high school students. It teaches them leadership skills. It gives them an opportunity to really sometimes go back to their elementary school and say, here's where I am, here's where I was. Let me show you, And also, what's cool to an elementary school student and a high school student? Just come and hang out for an hour. And that model follows our same high school or community or site-based program.
How are those students identified?
So we take referrals from any trusted adult, is my understanding, who does a referral. Is that correct?
DSS has been giving me some.
DSS, pastors, There's a huge referral for school counselors, community counselors, right? Folks who identify the need for, hey, this kid might need an extra adult in their life. Because it could be, they could not be for single family homes, they have 4 kids at home.
Right now, I have 2 at Bowman, 2 at Gage, 1 at the high school. And the rest of you.
How many, you mentioned the high school students working with these.
I talked to Dylan, it's just getting him going. He's supposed to be talking to the juniors I think this week. So I'll touch base with him because I would really like to get that started on both sides of the county. I've talked to, Mr. Hall and he's on board with it. I've spoken to Mr. Calhoun and I don't foresee a problem there. It's just getting the high school kids.
Let's get the high school kids involved in building.
And also, I'm gonna continue to bother Alan, as these dollars do trickle down, in these substance use prevention, or these substance use dollars, as they come down. Big Brother Big Sister is a substance use prevention organization. We give kids that opportunity through that one-to-one mentor and have an extra adult say, hey, right now, I don't know where I'm at. But I want to not turn to drugs like some of the other places. So I'm gonna continue to bother Alan about it. Just prepare yourself.
Are never bothered.
But folks, I'm humbled by the opportunity to talk to you this evening. If y'all have questions on it, is it okay if I bring my colleagues up?
Thanks for. When you doing the next fundraiser? We can look this way.
April 1st, we're gonna have, leadership
First and 15th.
first at the roller rink in Kingston County. We're gonna start putting all that out here.
It's gonna be a silent auction on March.
Oh,
I'm going to say. That's before my other check.
They're gonna get you.
Do my Mother's Day shopping.
And we appreciate what you do. You're exactly right. We'll start. With you, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lord.
Thanks for the as well. Now I'm head down the mountain.
Have a good one.
I'm moving to take a 5-minute recess.
It's,
yeah.
that's good. 5 minutes.
Right.
They did part of that.
We're ready, we'll get back to business at hand. Jeff and Stager back in. I think next on the agenda tonight, we've got notice to proceed for the precast and site work to the new middle school. Okay, you can speak to that.
Yeah, so, met with the CMAR today, but on, earlier, late in last week, we've got some information that the CMAR had their guaranteed maximum price, so. Guess I should say the construction manager at risk is the word CMAR before I go further. So that is. So we're on schedule as far as the middle school bill financially. Noy is our, folks that's overseeing the bill. They, got bids. Bids came in on schedule. So what the, CMAR needs to move forward is a, motion from our board to accept the GMP1 and move forward, and they'll need one from our board, and also this later this week, the school board will have to do that. So this is kind of procedural, and we are on budget so far. Actually, it was like 500 change under 500,000 and change under budget, but that will still suck back in. You don't know if you're on budget or off budget till the project's done. So
The good thing about the GMP is the guaranteed maximum price, so you know, regardless of changes in the economy, supply chain, whatever it is, that, you know, that signal is on the hook for that number, so the likelihood that they come in pretty daggone good, I would say, so do I have a motion, we move forward with the notice to proceed for the precast and site work for the new middle school. A second? Second. All in favor, vote for the usual sign. Motion carries. Next item on the list tonight, we have the Lawrence Canott Junior Memorial Bridge resolution. And I've got that, I believe. Both Mitchell County Commissioner boards, we need to adopt a resolution in support of dedicating a bridge to fallen officer Lawrence Canott Jr. The work for this memorial has already been done by the Highway Patrol. The adoption of these resolutions is the final step. And I'm going to read this resolution, then we'll let the votes. Do we know the location?
Yes, so this bridge is located in Green Mountain. So if you're heading, towards Pigeon Roost, if you're going along on the Yancey side of the river and you're crossing the river to head towards the Pigeon Roost connection, that is where that, bridge is located. So it's kind of on the Pigeon Roost Tipton Hill side of the North Toe River. So it's crossing the Toe River before it gets to the Noble Chucky where Cane River comes in. So between the two counties, and that's why we have to have two counties.
Joint resolution. The Mitchell County resolution supporting the naming of the Patrolman Lawrence Canott Jr. Bridge. Whereas Lawrence Canott Jr. was a lifelong resident of North Carolina who served in the United States Air Force and served the North Carolina Highway Patrol for 8 years. And whereas Mitchell County would like to honor the fallen law enforcement officer Lawrence Canott Jr., who was killed in the line of duty October 5th, 1974. And whereas Mitchell and Yancey County support is required to memorialize Patrolman Lawrence Canott Jr. with the naming of bridge crossing the North Toe River from Toe River Road in Yancey County to Relief Road extension in Mitchell County. Now therefore be it resolved that the Mitchell County Board of Commissioners hereby honors Patrolman Lawrence Canott Jr. for making the ultimate sacrifice for the naming of aforementioned bridge, adopted this day, the 17th of January 2023 by Mitchell County Board of Commissioners. Do I have a motion to move forward with this resolution? So, second. All in favor, vote for the usual sign. Motion carries. Next item, we have our vice chair for the meeting board.
All right, I'm gonna go, take this and I can go down here.
You wear a lot of hats.
Today I wore a. Okay, well, I'm just trying to do a few brief highlights, about the TDA right now, so if you guys have any questions or anything further, I can bring it back for next meeting. But with the members that were appointed by the Lee County Commission Board, the 2-year seats went to me, Matt Ward, Libby Phillips, and Misty Sale. And then the 3-year terms went to Whitney Lanford, Joe Glenn, Sharon Nolan, and Amy Holly. So I don't know if anybody was kind of curious to see. Spot afterwards, because this one's a big week. Because currently, right now, our meeting schedule is twice a month. So right now we are meeting the first and the third Tuesday of the month at 1 p.m. The first meeting's typically here in the EBC boardroom, the second meeting's out of the chamber office. So January to June. Hopefully, once we get through the budget and all of that, we will be moving to 1 meeting a month. So for July to December, that's going to be the third Tuesday of the month, 1 p.m. alternating. July will be here in Bakersfield, which will be the following month. But these meetings are open to you guys, the public, whoever wants to come. They're usually longer than these meetings, so just go ahead and bring your lunch or something. Think of my life. So some of the accomplishments that the TDA board has done so far, we have successfully transitioned from providing tourism being promoted by the chamber to now it's successfully being promoted by the TDA. So I think they refer to it as independent divorce. So you know, the chamber has their goals and stuff that they're working on, which is going to be more focused about business and their membership, and then the TDA board is getting around for marketing and all of that good stuff. I did want to share with you guys our mission statement, and it took a couple meetings to talk about this, throw out some options, but I do think it's a very good mission statement for the TDA board. And so that is to cultivate the identity of Mitchell County as a welcoming small communities with a sustainable balance of history, nature, culture, and amenities that make Mitchell County attractive to both residents and visitors. So there's a lot of thought in that and a lot of conversation. So we have done a goals list, so much like the commission board, we have set goals, and so our quarterly top 3 goals right now are design a new website. So we reviewed the proposals today, and so we're going to move forward with that. So hopefully in the next quarter, you guys will see all of that good stuff. We're going to work on a countywide map. It's kind of silly to some, but I think overall it's going to be really beneficial being able to be, whether you're at Lakeview, just want to say, hey, you want to go over to Mount Edgewater and teach, because I believe you use that as a scenario today. So having that map, I think, is going to be really beneficial, and vice versa, because we are in one county, we're not one county. And I think that's a really good goal for the DA, is to get rid of that. It's not this and that, it's the whole county. And then another one of our top goals is identifying all of the short-term rentals who are actually paying occupancy tax and affecting the fire market. So we have an idea right now about how many we have, but with this program,
New supplement.
yes, I forget the name of it, but we should hopefully have some data, and so that I think is very beneficial moving forward. So our future goals, and that's kind of where you guys put my other hat on, but come into play. So we do plan to reach out to the state and ask for them to increase our tax again. You know, last year, whenever we were advocating for a TDA, it was 3%. We wanted to get 5%. Well, it only granted us half of our requests, so we have a TDA board, but we still would like to see that get to the 5%.
Is it 5% across? What's the standard across the North Carolina? You know,
Everybody's there. There's apparently 2 counties in North Carolina that have
It's,
Burden, Bunker.
yeah,
But they're really big units, I don't think realistically
But-
that's gonna be an option.
it ranges everything from like 2 to 5.
Okay.
Another one of our future goals long term is we'd like to hire a TDA director, obviously, because we know volunteers can't do this. Sustainable. For a long time, but, so. We would like for you guys to have a letter of support. So that when they come out of long station, short station, or however that works. Evidently around, over the time, we'll need that letter, but if we can kind of approach it as a region again, we can probably see better chance of like, doing and all of our surrounding counties approaching the states and, hey, we kind of need this, we might be stand a better chance, I don't know, it's not an election year or something. That does factor into stuff sometimes. And just for clarity for anybody on the live stream, the tax we're talking about is not a burden on the property taxpayers of this county, but it is just a pass-through tax that is taxed on to individuals that are staying here in short-term rentals like Airbnbs or hotels or anything like that. Just wanted to throw that out there.
That's a very, very good point.
So, do you guys have anything you want to take back to the TDO board? Any questions?
Darling, all I know is that I know you have put a ton of time in this, and I know that that whole board is working. And I've heard that, I know the meetings are long, and I know that you guys are building it from the ground up, so thank you for doing that from our board. I know it's not like you ain't got a few other irons in the fire, so thank you for taking the time to do that. I know you're a big bonus. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I think it's gonna be good.
I'm super excited about it. And I've heard a lot of people in the community that are very excited to have that. So, can I get a motion that we get our county manager to draft a letter of support for our TDA board, occupancy tax increase to 5%?
So move on.
Second. All in favor, vote for use of sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
And I'm gonna be the person, maybe, so she's the final slate. She can update that.
Lois is gonna give us an update on. We've got two things here. We've got the TDA planner update, and then just stand still and the finance office updates with us. It's.
Oh, yeah, you need better.
I'll talk loud. The bylaw for the new, Mitchell County Tourism Development Authority says that each quarter I will come to the board and give you a financial update on the TDA finances. So each quarter, and I plan on doing that at the end, like this is gonna be through December 31st, which is actually our first quarter in existence. And then I'll do it after the end of March, June, and September. I'll do it on a quarterly basis. July 1st, the newly formed Tourism Development Authority began receiving occupancy tax. So to date, we've received $98,091.04. We've had interest to date of $14.65 for a total revenue of $98,105.89. Today, we have reimbursed the Mitchell County Chamber of Commerce for tourism expenses that they encumbered from July through November of $28,068.03. And this is where Harley was talking about, we're splitting this off now, but from the point that this was established in legislature beginning July 1st to the point that the TDA board was actually formed, it took about 3 months for that process to filter down. So the chamber had billboards, they had ads in magazines, they had staff at the visitor center. So she presented the board with her list of requests for reimbursement, and the board reimbursed those expenses. So now we minus that from the revenues, and they're sitting with a net balance of $70,037.86. And that's where they are now. They are also in the paper this past week.
We've also ran an ad for an auditor for the TDA. It is a component of Mitchell County and will be in our Mitchell County audit as a component unit, but they are also a standalone governmental agency, which requires them to have their standalone audit. And that will be a separate audit presentation, which will be sent to the LTC for approval, just like ours is. So it's kind of a dual complicated.
Any idea what that article costs?
I would say $6,000, and that's just my guess at this point. I've had nobody submit. And they're due by February the 1st, so we are, hopefully wait and see what we get. But I'm thinking around 6,000. So when we did the budget, and Harley alluded to that, when we did the budget, and I'm sure, you know, we did a budget amendment in our budget, but you probably don't remember this, but what we did was, we did set aside money for contingency, we set aside money for fund balance, because those two things are required in a budget for local government. And we also budgeted some money for advertising of the ad for the auditor and for the auditor expense. And I think we came in low on the ad. It only ran about $51, so we're gonna save a little money there. And I think I put in about 5,000 for an auditor, but I'd say we may be on the higher end of 6, but I don't know if we get those proposals in.
If we don't need to close, we're gonna reach out to a firm.
We'll have to re-advertise and I've already, and we'll talk about that later in my finance, but yeah, reach out personally to some people. And I have sent some directly to some auditors. But we also have to run an advertising. We covered both bases. So I would say next month we'll know how that turned out.
What's the requirement on that? I'll just get CPA and license CPA. That's not a requirement.
Whatever the local government requires of them, they go through the same process we do. You know, they'll have to be a GPA. They have to do governmental auditing.
I just think how previous employer probably those CPAs that.
I know she's doing some, there's one I had in mind, but I don't know, she's doing so, she might actually do some local government, so I'll reach out.
Yeah, you have to have that ongoing education and training and certification within governmental. It's not just the regular. And there's not a lot of them that are into that field of work. It's pretty specialized. Any questions about the financials for the TDA?
And that'll be the only payment to the chamber, right? That'll be that break point.
We have, our board, the board approved today another $1,200 to finish out some contracts on a couple of billboards, and then after that, it's gonna be finished. Was it 1,200? I think 1,200 today. That we're still gonna pay them, and then that's it. Yeah, that's it. But it doesn't leave them a lot to work with, that's for sure. And last year occupancy tax brought in about $145,000, so they don't, that's why they desperately need the 5 units. That would bring in almost another 100,000.
I was gonna say, it seems like a lot of work and the expense.
It's a lot of work.
They-
It's
they
little
little
things.
things. I appreciate it. The commissioner asked. We didn't want to do that.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mace. We got, we'll give us 1 second here. We've got item number E that we added to our agenda. This is the geotech resolution for Mitchell County Rec Center. So whereas Mitchell County, North Carolina Board of Commissioners has selected a parcel of real estate owned by it and fully shown on a survey plot prepared by Mountaineer Land Survey and PA dated November 8, 2022, and designated job number 2-13B 138, the preferred site on the location of a proposed indoor athletic facility, and whereas Mitchell County employed Catawba Valley Engineering and Testing has performed subsurface exploration and geotechnical engineering evaluation on the site and has prepared a report of the subsurface conditions found to exist on the site and geotechnical recommendations for actions to be taken to prepare the site for construction. And whereas the recommendations include undercut and removal of existing field soils and backfill with improved structural field soil compacted to at least 98% maximum dry density. All the recommendations are included in an 8-page report and included Appendix A submitted to the Mitchell County Manager by Catawba Valley Engineering and testing on October 28, 2022. And whereas the frequent presence of geotechnical engineering or qualified technician on site during the undercut and fill operation will be necessary to oversee the operations to approve field soils prior to placement and ensure proper removal and compaction as recommended in the geotechnical evaluation report. And whereas pursuant to the provisions of General Statute 143-64.32, particular projects may be exempted from the requirements of Article 3D, Chapter 143 of General Statutes regarding the procurement of engineering services if the fee for those services amount less than $50,000. And whereas Catawba Valley Engineering has informed the Mitchell County Manager that its services for the undercut oversight and monitoring as the field operations will be in the amount of $15,000 and $20,000. Whereas Mitchell County has been services of Catawba Valley Engineering and testing on numerous prior occasions and found to be proficient in performing the services requested. Now therefore be it resolved, the necessary engineering services for the supervision of the undercut and field operations necessary for field preparation for the proposed site for the construction of Mitchell County indoor athletic facilities exempted from the provisions of Article 3D, Chapter 143 of the North Carolina General Statutes, and the North Carolina or the Mitchell County Manager is authorized and directed to negotiate a contract between Catawba Valley Engineering and Testing and this board for the performance of the oversight, monitoring, testing, supervision of the site preparation for Mitchell County indoor facility, athletic facility. This the 17th day. Oh, sorry, this will be, this will be
January.
yeah, sorry, this is the 17th day of January 2023. To have a motion, we adopt this resolution.
So moved.
Second. All in favor, vote to use and sign. Motion carries. Next item on our list tonight, we have our finance officer report.
Okay, I'm gonna follow up with the fact that the auditor, request, is also running in the paper this week and next week for Mitchell County, June 30th, 23 audit. And again, we did a survey of surrounding counties in Western North Carolina who did their audits, and we then personally mailed out packets to those individual auditors. Just because we have a weekly paper, and I'm not sure how read out of the county, I didn't know if we would get anyone, and we know there's no one in the county that is qualified to do it other than Sharon Gillespie. So far, I've received a couple that we mailed out have indicated or let me know that they're not interested too. Has called or emailed me and said, thank you, but we're not interested. I've talked to two that are, I think may possibly bid. I had a phone conversation with both of them. One's in West Jefferson and one's in Boone. I had an email this afternoon from another one out of Hickory who's asking me, probably I had to answer about 12 or 15 more questions. Not sure if they were interested or not, or just wanted more information. So that's where we are on that. Hopefully we'll get some interest in that one. I'll keep you appraised, and off the top of my head, I'm not sure when those are due back. Mid-February, maybe, mid-February. That's a pretty extensive package that they have to complete, so we gave them a little bit longer than we did with the TDA. It's a much simpler package. On the second thing, in late 2021, we applied for the Community Development Block Grant, and as you all know, we got that grant. And finally, in December of 2022, we got our funding letter. So just this month, we had pulled the committee back together and reviewed the status of our application. And we still have 3 applicants that were pre-approved, and environmental's already been done on. So this week, Tommy Winchester sent out the RFQs or RFPs actually to 3 of the home vendors that we have been using in the past. And once those bids come back in on the 17th of February and we take a look at what the cost is going to be for those 3, we are hoping, we had hoped to do at least 4 houses this time. But because we had a couple applicants who passed away in the previous year, we're down to 3. So we feel like we'll be able to open that process back up and take applications again once we get the price on the 3 that we've got. So keep that in mind. Next month, hopefully I can let you know where we are on that, if we're going to be able to open that process back up. So while we're working on these 3, we could be qualifying another applicant, hopefully. I'd love to be able to do 2, but we just have to wait and see what the process coming in. Although Tommy has spoke to some of the manufactured home facilities, and they say things have turned around and that they should be able to do a home in about 6 weeks, which is better than 6 months that we were at. So he's very hopeful that we won't have too much of a turnaround. And I think we have to August of 24 to completely close this grant out. So we've got plenty of time to get this going. Okay, the last thing I want to talk to you about is, I don't know if you remember or not, but in this year's budget, there were 3 vehicle replacements for the sheriff's department. And as you know, we've had a horrible time trying to get vehicles, but we had purchased 1. We have 2 that are on their way. So that will complete their 3. One's sitting on the ground and one's supposed to be here February the 3rd. Okay, so I thought we had them taken care of, and then we got the 3 SROs. We had hoped to use some spare vehicles, and we got the one back from the school, which Courtney is using now, although it is not in very good shape. So we had an opportunity to get a couple more. Actually, this one had been ordered and the place couldn't wait for it through state contract, had to buy something else, and it's canceled one of these trucks. And they're 22 models, so they're priced state contract for about $35,000, which I think is going to be a lot less than what we're going to look at if we have to buy 23. I can get my hands on 2 vehicles for SRO that will be in the silver gray family, which will match the other SRO vehicles. What I'm asking the board is, do you want me to pursue these 2 vehicles? Go ahead and get the 22s at 22 prices, so we don't have to look at trying to find something next year and not knowing what the cost is going to be. These would be dedicated to SROs.
Seems like our patrol officers are going to be using vehicles a lot more than our SROs. Is there anybody to replace
And we can do that.
vehicles in the fleet?
We can. I was just thinking because these were the silver gray colors, but if you don't care if they match the other ones, then Donald can use them however he wants and give them whatever he wants to give them. That's up to him. But you've got to realize now, in the summer or out of school, these officers will be working for the sheriff's department, doing whatever Donald wants them or needs them to do. So I don't have a preference in how they use them. I'm just saying, these were not budgeted.
So we do a budget.
And I would like to purchase these knowing that the SROs are going to get better than what we're trying to give them right now.
What's our SORs or SROs currently in? Do we know?
We only have Courtney's in the old car that came from the school.
Yes, James is gonna be in one of the Chargers. Right now, all of them, I guess, will be in spare Chargers that we,
Yeah,
which will take us down to no spares.
they're really hurting right now because they don't have any spares. If one of theirs goes down or has to be in the shop, they don't have anything. So I personally feel like this is probably an opportunity to get these at this price. I have no idea what the price will be next year.
What's the delivery on those? How quick can you get them?
This one's sitting on the ground already. The other one is on route. Manufacturer. Or from wherever it was set, I don't know. I mean, it's not gonna be immediate. It's probably gonna take us another 30 or 60 days to get these vehicles in Mitchell County. But if I can get our name on them,
Yeah.
because this one will go fast, because they just called today on this one.
Yeah.
The other one, I've got my name on when it comes in, I've got first dibs on it, but this one, the county or town or whoever purchased it just canceled today.
So, Mavis, I have a question. So thinking ahead to our budget planning session in March and April, whatever, were we planning on having 3 other vehicles that were going to come out of rotation and have to purchase 3?
We have historically, and I can't tell you for how many years, probably 7 or 8 or 9 years, we historically purchased a minimum of 3 for the sheriff's department every year. I did ask Cecil today to go ahead and start building me the list of what they've got, the mileage on them, and to start getting me 23 quotes. So we'll be ready for budget, because that takes a little time to put together. And give me his recommendation on what the sheriff's department's gonna need next year. I mean, I'm pretty positive they're gonna need 3.
That would be my guess.
And we usually rotate 3 out just to keep them in rotation. And that was not counting the SRO. So this is an extra expense we knew we were gonna have to deal with.
And our SROs are all under Donald at this point, so we can just buy 3.
And he can give them whatever he wants to give them. I guess my concern, at one point, Donald had made the comment to me that he wanted those marked, but now he may have changed his mind by now. But he wanted those marked similar to the SRO vehicles, so they would be recognizable. But I don't know now what his plan is. That's yet to be up to him, what he wants to do, if he wants to mark them differently, because now they're going to be working for him at all school time, so he may not. That was early on into the process, so I have no idea. I mean, that's up to him.
It seems like a good price, I mean, to me for a Ram, so what it is, Ram. For a new Ram, it sounds like a good price.
Well, actually, this one that canceled today is a Ford.
Even better.
Yeah.
They're-
I'm not being too angry. Is it-
Mavis, those are the 2 police packs for the 2 groups.
Yeah, right. Yes, the pursuit, whatever, yeah.
Can I get a motion that we move forward with purchasing these 2 vehicles? All in favor, vote for the usual sign. Motion carries.
That's all I have. Do you have any other questions or anything else for them?
That's good. I think that's a good deal for us there, because we knew it's coming in.
We're gonna have to do it
Yeah.
sooner or later, and we don't have, he's not hired the 3rd one yet, so it may be later down the road, we look at a 3rd one.
We're getting that. Yeah. we want to do that.
Or somebody, yeah, another 22.
Review, load it up and her, pretty good deal. County manager's report.
Yes, Steve, Commissioner Pittman, just wanted to talk a little bit about, we did something last week that's not been done in many years. I'm talking maybe 10+ years. We had an all county staff meeting. And I think the meeting was a big success. Number one, we didn't use taxpayer money, but we had a few soups and snacks and everything on that to, kind of boost some morale and share pertinent information with all of our county departments. And Mitchell County touches a lot in our communities. And so we brought them into the future home of the Law Enforcement Center, and we covered a lot of information, and we had a lot of folks in the room that, we work and we get in our silos from time to time, and we just don't see each other. But I think it was really good for everyone out here in the trenches, the boots on the ground that are impacting daily our communities, to see each other, to see, hey, I'm not in here, not in this alone. So I was very, very happy that we could have this periodically with our staff to just kind of refocus them in 2023. So speaking of 2023, we've got a lot of new projects on the radar. So I say this maybe more for those citizens who might be tuning in via live stream or watching this in the future. This is going to be a pretty neat year, historically speaking. We met with Mosley about the Law Enforcement Center bill this morning, and that bill is progressing. It's moving forward nicely, and it's being customized to meet our unique needs. The next project, of which I met with today, and I got a feeling we're going to be doing a lot of meetings, is the middle school build. So we're cooperative with the school folks on that, and we're looking at that build, and I think we're still on schedule for groundbreaking with the middle school build in late February, early March. So the CMAR said they're still moving in that direction. Of course, weather, things like that could take a little bit of be a factor in that time frame. And also we're looking at the rec center. So met with that today, and the rec center, we're moving forward with the geotech, and we're going to do a lot of our preliminary studies and make sure we're in the right place to get the site preparation and get us an architect in place. We've been proactively meeting to get this rec center built. So next on the radar is going to be 2 years down the road. We'll probably be early on planning for a Bowman Middle School and the renovations involved with that. So if you look at these projects and a couple more that I'll share with you in the future that might be on the radar, you look at these projects, I mean, these are infrastructure in many ways that brings those industries that Matt's doing so great with, just getting out there and laying groundwork for EDC. We got a neat team here. I have to say, I'm kind of pumped looking around here. We got forward-thinking bunch of commissioners that are very fiscal. They like to think outside the box. They have been very supportive in the growth of Mitchell County. You can gauge a lot about some of them, but the priorities just they are so focused on trying to benefit our citizenship. We got a really good attorney back here. I really like having Forrest's guidance as we work through things. So a lot of times a successful county has a successful team in place. And this is probably my 2023 speech is we got a really neat team in place, and talk about this TDA. We've got a tourism development authority that is foundationally being set up in a manner that's fiscal and open. We're polling our stakeholders in that. So we have a lot of exciting projects going on. So it's really neat to be a part of it. So thanks for giving me the opportunity to work with this board and these stakeholders.
Glad to have you. You're doing a fine job. I think the next item on the list is closed session. I believe we had
We have one item that would be an attorney-client matter.
anything I need to read for that one. I don't have anything.
No, sir. Be appropriate to take a motion to go into closed session for attorney-client matters. And Madam Clerk, the statute's 143-318.1183. Anyone.
I have it in mind. I'm impressed. Oh, wow.
I just had to put that a lot.
That's a good one. Very good.
Second.